Reading of the article, part 5. Segwit plus Lightning Network conclusion. In theory, the Lightning Network sounds like it could be an excellent scaling solution. Through thoughtful analysis, however, it doesn't seem as likely. This type of sidechain has its own use cases, but it doesn't promote merchant adoptions, nor it is inviting to the non-technical crowd. In addition, if the cost is only pennies to conduct a transaction on the actual blockchain, the need for the Lightning Network diminishes. After all, why would you bother moving money out of your hardware wallet and onto another network when it costs so little to simply use the actual blockchain? Considering these reasons, and because there is no actual working implementation, it cannot be relied on as a primary scaling method. With Segwit, we essentially get a doubling of transaction capacity through a decrease in the transaction size. In the short term, this should be and has been adequate for preventing transaction backlogs. Assuming that number of transactions continue to grow, it will not be adequate in the long term. Inevitably, in addition, capacity increase will be needed. Understanding now that sidechains such as the Lightning Network only have specific use cases, the capacity increase will need to come in the form of an increased block size. However, the developers currently responsible for maintaining Bitcoin are adamantly opposed to this solution. They are of the belief that Bitcoin cannot scale globally without sidechains, and that 1 megabyte block size should remain. They have been unwilling to compromise on this issue, even when industry participants, miners and businesses agreed to simultaneously adopt Segwit and increase the block size to 2 megabytes, called Segwit 2x, which is still on the table. This is unsurprising as they have pushed away those that disagree with them, and unfortunately seem to have fallen victim of groupthink. Bitcoin Cash, on the other hand, has multiple development teams working on it. These teams share the philosophy that Bitcoin can scale at the global level on a chain without relying on sidechain usage. These teams believe in Bitcoin's goal and are working on features that create more use cases to accomplish it. In addition, fees are extraordinarily low. Transaction capacity is a non-issue, and the conditions for adoption growth are bountiful. For these reasons, the previously mentioned Yours network uses Bitcoin Cash for payments. They initially planned legacy Bitcoin, but because fees swelled to over $1, it became apparent they could not. People were not going to deposit $5 when the fee was $4 itself, so they needed another option. That option came in the form of Bitcoin Cash. With the transaction capacity increase, fees would remain low, and it became a no-brainer that this was the Bitcoin network to use, so they did. The real-life example really demonstrates what happens when you neglect your customer and don't retain your core competencies. It also shows how important it is to foster conditions inviting for growth, with leadership that understands the importance as well. If something working successfully is neglected, and the intention is modifying it with something inferior, a consequence will result. Bitcoin Cash is that consequence, and with its superior transaction capacity, it is ready to serve the world. Retain your core competencies. Leverage your strength. Know your customers. Constantly improve and innovate. Thank you.